coming to you raw and unscripted. Beaming across Ontario and beyond to places like Elmira, Tory Hill, Birchcliff, and Black Creek. This is the Real Hickson Real Estate Podcast. Whether you're listening on your commute or putting on your suit, whether it's your morning stroll or you're on patrol, you just finished prayer or dropped the kids at daycare, you're in the bar, your car, or listening with the bathroom door ajar, near or far, this is the Jess and Giro Show. We're grateful for flattery and prone to inaccuracies. This is your guide to Toronto culture, people, events, news, but most importantly, real estate talk. Yes, folks. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
We're back, Jess. We're back in it.
Ever.
I don't know if anyone noticed, but we were meant to do one podcast at the very end of last year, but we just didn't get around to it.
Yeah, we actually finished the year pretty busy.
We actually finished it pretty busy. Did a couple of deals like right up into Christmas Eve.
Christmas morning.
Wow, good for us. Always putting our clients first, aren't we, Jess?
Always.
Yeah, I guess we had a couple of too many eggnogs during the Christmas break, and we just didn't feel like doing it.
Yeah, sorry about that.
We got away to the sun. Hopefully, you got away to the sun, away from this polar vortex that's like out of control, or you're going to the sun. Although, by the looks of it, Cancun's not looking too good today, is it, Jess?
No, it's pretty cold and
rainy. Storms coming through.
We're all just doing the best we can in January.
Right.
January
That's right.
700th.
There's going to be a few messages today, a few messages for the year, and I think that's the first one, Jess.
We're doing the best that we can.
Do the best you can with the tools that you have.
Yeah. Recognize
what's in your control and what's out of your control.
And it's not going to be dark after this. We got through the darkness. It's only going to be be lighter. Every day we get one more minute of sun.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. It won't be it won't be
it's
dark.
It's not like
again.
a metaphor or anything. Like you're literally talking about the sunset and sunrise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
In a couple weeks, it'll be dark at 5:30.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I've actually started to notice it.
Yeah, it's really a big
difference. Once it's still light after 5, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good sign.
Yeah. So that's positive.
Yeah.
I'm fighting a cold for the 300th time this year. But that's sorry for my voice.
Yeah, so we usually avoid if any of us or our guests are sick or nasally. Yeah. But you know what, Jess? Your voice is just so beautiful that we're just going to continue.
And we can't help it because I'm constantly blowing my nose.
Yes, constantly. And to be honest, right now we're a little busy anyway, so we just kind of have to do it when we can.
Yeah, so please take our apology.
So, Happy New Year, Jess. It's elections year, Canada. It's a couple of different elections, as we're aware.
Yes.
Obviously, the US had their election last year. We are seeing the Trump effect now. As we speak, he's signing new laws into power.
Every hour.
We're not going to be political on this podcast. We're just going to shoot straight facts. And we're only ever going to talk about things that affect Canadians.
Yeah.
Because Canada comes first in my life. How about you too?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just talk about the Cheeto in the room. I mean, the elephant in the room. Trump is in office now. We'll see. We'll see what he comes with. Honestly, from an openness perspective, there are some negatives. There are some positives. We're going to unpack that a little bit. The biggest negative, though, we just have to tackle it, Jess. This 25% tariffs, February 1st, this is not good.
No.
Regardless of your political affiliation and who you want in office or who you'd like to see in office, it's not going to be good. We had a meeting, you may have seen across TikTok or Instagram. I've posted about it. It's very important. I don't think people fully understand the ramifications. Mm-hmm. But if Trump...
I don't think the president of the United States knows the implications.
Yeah. We had Kevin O'Leary fly down there and try and convince this guy.
Yeah.
Mr. Wonderful. Mm-hmm. Listen, it's most likely, if it happens, he has a study group, a case group that's going to go in and study the trade deficit, so to speak, in his words. So whether this actually goes through on February 1st and what it does look like, I think they're probably just buying time. My opinion, I think he was trying to heat check Canada, to be honest. There's a few different ways you can read it. Either way, if he does go through and pulls 25% tariffs on Canada, it will most likely end and result in a trade war, which isn't good for either side. It's definitely going to hurt them, and it's definitely going to hurt us. Yeah. The projections are that we will see a recession, which is going to be greater numbers than the global financial crisis, 2008.
Yeah.
That's the kind of number we're seeing. So it's not good. What does it look like? How does it pan out? I hope we don't have to find all that information out.
Yeah.
But it is something to be well aware of. Now, how is this going to affect the market? Well, there's going to be a soft market somewhere, whether it's, home sales continue to see a decline and rentals increases, rental price, rental demand, because obviously less first-time home buyers, there's going to be less buyers just in general, or people even panic selling and they end up, I'm just going to rent, which is, by the way, the worst possible thing you can do, unless you have a crystal ball and you're like, oh yeah, 100%, I'm going to sell for the money I can get now, and I'm just going to rent and then buy when everything's cheaper. Like, that is probably the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
You might be able to get away with it once every decade if you time it perfectly.
Yeah.
But chances are you're not going to. It's the same as if you panic sell your stocks, and a lot of articles will tell you that you're more likely to hesitate jumping back in.
Yeah.
And you can miss the rise. And by the way, you could pull it off, as I said, once in a decade. But if you don't, and you get priced out of the market, it's just the worst case scenario. So that's the way it could go. If he doesn't, or if it's a 10% thing, or it's a temporary thing, or it doesn't happen at all, we do expect to see some activity this year.
Yeah, which has already begun.
Yeah, we had a lot of activity drawn from the last 2 years back into the fervor of 2021, 2022. But now we're seeing like delay in demand. And as we know, although they've been doing a pretty good job with trying to catch up with the housing demand in Ontario at the very least, we know that we're always behind, right, Jess?
Yeah, with the amount of immigration.
The amount of immigration that's been coming in. The tides are turning a little bit on immigration. Obviously, it's a hot topic for elections on both sides.
Yeah.
We are, starting to see, for example, at the end of last year, I was showing homes in Markham, for example, which is usually a pretty hot East Asian market, especially for renters, students coming from China and all those kinds of areas. And I had a pretty easy time showing clients in like the November, December, which is usually pretty hot.
Yeah.
Pretty hot market all year round for various reasons. The number one being that we have international students. But now with the new rules coming through, they're limiting their working hours, et cetera, et cetera. They're also limiting the amount of postgraduate visas, I believe they can get, because that was a easier way to get into Canada, I suppose, than other ways. But anyways, we're seeing the effect there. Whether it sustains or goes back the other way, we'll have to see, Jess. Rub that crystal ball, Jess.
Yeah, I know. This is the time that you wish you could see the future.
Yeah, that's it.
Just like 3 years from now, it would be good to know.
Yeah. So the second result from, depending on what Trump does to the South with immigration, if he follows through with the kind of stern comments, the stern action stance that he is been talking about, we could actually see a shift in the way we have immigration coming into Canada. We either will see, as he talks about removing people from America, by the way, like the hardworking labor force that, in my opinion, keeps America alive.
Yeah.
We actually might see those skills coming over here, or we see people that were destined to go to the US instead coming to Canada.
Yeah.
So it will be very, very interesting to see.
And very likely the GTA.
Well, exactly. As we know, there's just and I talk about this, I don't know how often I talk about this on the podcast, there is just not enough major cities in Canada. There's just not. And in my opinion, I'm sorry, there's one major city, and it's Toronto, and it's the let's call it the GTA, because the city is growing every day. And, you know, we have a lot of the labor force here, a lot of the tech here. You know, we have the energy sector in many other provinces.
Yeah.
But for the most part, people are coming here for those kinds of jobs.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at. We just need more major cities and more minor cities for that reason. And the other thing is that the irony of all of this, hopefully Canadians are broadly portfolioed. Let's use that word.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, myself, I have ETFs, for example, or we have ETFs rather, in non-Canadian stocks. Of course, I have some in Canadian stocks, some not. Either way, what I'm saying is, what we've seen so far in the stock market is this renewed sense of, and this is the very little positive that comes into it, the renewed sense of nationalism that does drive stocks up.
Yeah.
In the long run, this is helping corporate America. But if you can, hold on to the coattails and go along for the ride, it will help you too. So what I'm saying is staying broad in your portfolio, whether it be real estate or those kinds of things, we have to be ready for anything that comes to us, right, Jess?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Because, if that recession does hit us, the TSX doesn't really perform that well historically compared to the New York Stock Exchange or any of the others down there, S&P 500, what have you. But it could do much worse, unfortunately. But I don't know. I'm not an economist. I'd be curious to see. Actually, I wouldn't be curious to see if this trade war comes in. I don't want it.
Yeah.
I don't want it.
Let's hope February 1st
I would be interested.
Goes.
Yeah, exactly. I would be interested to hear some speculations, some hypotheticals, Jess. After the fact. Yeah. Okay, so going back to our market itself, the first thing I'll say is the rental market's pretty busy, Jess.
It is, yeah.
We had a lot of renters at the end of last year that, tenants. We have some listings this year. Pretty busy. A lot of people want to move around.
Yeah, and it's larger units, more expensive units.
Yes.
And they are getting action. So that's very interesting.
Now, I've been in my newsletter. And by the way, if you haven't got my newsletter or you don't receive it, please let me know. I curate it every single month. It is handwritten. It is not AI driven. It's me, myself, doing my research and doing my notes.
And
please.
Beautifully.
Oh, thank you so much, Jess. Jess proofreads it to make sure I'm not being an idiot.
Well.
Or saying anything stupid.
Yeah.
Or make sure I dot my I's and cross my T's, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways, as I've been saying in the newsletter, why not, if you're a single person or one person, you're renting by yourself, why not move into a 2-bedroom? The family member, a friend. I know it's a bit of a sacrifice, but I tell you what, you can save yourself some money and save up for your first home, Jess.
Oh, he's going to get a segue in there right now.
That's a mad segue. To be fair, in my notes, I wrote that I was going to talk about this at the end.
Yeah.
I will say it again. This is the year for the first-time home buyer.
Yeah.
If you have been spending money on Uber Eats and good food
and avocado
toast and you don't have your down payment, sorry, but we've seen a drop in prices, especially the entry-level market.
Yeah.
Okay. And
better interest rates,
which equal more purchasing power.
Yeah.
It is a perfect storm, Jessica. It's a perfect snowstorm for this first-time home buyers.
It's like Florida.
That's right. So that is the number one thing.
Yeah.
Someone's always going to do well in any market.
Yeah. Especially if you don't have to sell to get to the property.
Exactly.
You're in a much better position right now.
Well, rental prices are still historically high. They've come down a little bit since last summer, and the previous summer was probably the peak. But as we said previously to this, depending on what happens, how it shakes down this year, we could see even crazier prices.
Yeah.
So that's even more reason to save up. And you know what? Don't worry about the taboo of asking family for money or anything. That's just the norm these days.
Yeah.
The reality is your parents probably generated a lot of equity in their home by just not moving.
Being in it.
Being in it. Buying it in the 80s or the 90s. Like, that's the reality. They didn't do anything special other than they worked hard to hold on to that piece of paper for the mortgage. And hopefully by now they've paid it off. But either way, asking parents, maybe you can even draw up a little contract if you need to pay them back or anything like that. Mm-hmm. That's just the reality these days.
No shame in that game.
It's the least they could do, right? That's it. So that's it. It's the year 2025 is the year of the first-time home buyer. I'm obviously going to be letting a lot of my guys know, a lot of the renters that I've converted over the years. There'll going to be, opportunities even for first-time home buyers to move into the next place. Yeah. I think. Yeah. It's all about context. If you do have questions about any of this, obviously you can always reach out to us by email, hicksonrealestateteam@gmail.com, or hit us up on the socials. But yeah, we're trying to bring the positivity into the year. So otherwise, we're seeing multiple offers in certain pockets, Jess.
Yeah, there are still hot neighborhoods. That doesn't change.
Yeah, so from last year and even this year, there was obviously the general slowdown over the last year and a half, but the homes that tend to perform the best, on average, is usually the semis. Yeah. Last year, the townhouses, anything sub $1 million was doing quite well because we had a lot of people trying to get into the market. Yeah. Family units, especially like immigrant family units, they're quite happy to blow through the stigma and have maybe a couple of family units in the same property, which is super, super smart if you're okay with that kind of dynamic. So we were seeing that. Now, obviously, the rules have changed for the less than 20% down up to 1.5 million.
Yeah, so the 1.1 to 1.2 market seems to be busy
so
because
there you go.
Of that.
And average townhomes, I noticed at the end of last year, the averages were sub $1 million. Now they're like spilling over, like $1,050,000, $1,060,000.
Exactly, because it just gives people a little bit of a push. They can get a little bit more with their money.
But otherwise, there are very tough pockets. Yep. Very tough pockets, let's call it like High Park, the Junction. Yeah. Certain Roncesvalles, certain areas that are generally very hard to get into.
Yeah, and they will always be on the higher end.
Always be on the higher end. Depending on which pocket, they're really not allowed to develop too much. You are seeing these low-rise condos, for example. Yeah. But it's very limited. And so there's always going to be these little pockets that are always going to perform well, just based on the fact that it's scarce. And guess what? These people are smart because they're not going to wait for everyone to get crazy to jump in. They're doing it when it's supposedly a scary time to do it. It's uncertain times.
But less inventory, and then a lot of buyers makes multiple offers.
Exactly.
Which we've seen already happen.
Yeah. But generally, we are seeing more buyer confidence. Yeah. We talked last year about the theme was a lot of people sitting on the sidelines. They started to jump off in like kind of November, December. Now we're really starting to see some real numbers. Maybe people wanted to wait till after the holidays. The usual typical stuff. Yeah. In terms of the numbers, we're seeing literally a bounce off the bottom, which makes complete sense for activity, for prices, for the amount of sales and the amount of listings that are coming out. Mm-hmm. It's always interesting to look at the listing sales ratio. Although there's more listings than there are sales, but as we know, it's the underpinned idea that there's just not enough homes in and around the GTA for everyone. As long as, immigration levels continue to sustain themselves, which they seem to be. So, we're seeing a lot more positivity. Now, we're looking at the condo market, which is typically been the softer market in the last year and a half, as I said. That's even starting to bounce off the bottom. Mm-hmm. We are seeing prices that are getting to a point where now people are jumping off the sideline to take them up on it. Maybe in the peak in 2022, we were seeing like the average condo around, plus 700,000, which is crazy. Even like entry level stuff in like the high fives, low 600s. Yeah. Now we're seeing the entry level market like roughly mid 400s to like low 500s typically. So
more opportunity. For first time buyers.
First time buyer, I tell you what, get in it, hold it, whatever you need to do. Use that equity, build that equity, Jess. That's all we want to do. Just build that equity.
Yeah.
So, interest rates back, as we talk about them before, they're back to 2019 levels, Jess. Mm-hmm. We're starting to see some high threes, maybe.
Yeah, if you're really
inching in, if you're lucky. Low fours for sure, mid fours for sure.
Yeah.
And that's nice. We want to see the reprieve.
Yeah.
Now, we were expecting a rate cut. However, recently, the job numbers have been positive.
Yeah, but that's also due to December's.
Yes, that's the asterisk.
Yeah.
Job numbers in December, it's always an asterisk because there's very seasonal jobs.
Yes.
In retail especially.
Yes.
Restaurants, bars, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's not your typical month. Mm-hmm. But if best case scenario, a quarter drop. That's what everyone's saying.
Yeah, that's what's been posted.
It either stays the same or a quarter is kind of the general feeling.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, to give it context, we are talking directly about the variable rate. The fixed interest rates, as Alfie walks around, potters around.
With his little feet.
Must be nice, eh? The fixed interest rates, they are fluctuating just based on the bond yields, roughly indexed to the bond yields. So they actually rose at the end of last year, and now they're like chilling out a little bit.
Yeah.
But funnily enough, we're only reaching the same levels as 2023 October. So back, not to talk about a year and a half ago, but they were expecting rates to come down so quickly.
Yes, but they didn't.
But they priced it in. And this is a good kind of lesson to teach you about fixed rates actually work.
Yes.
Is a lot of people, it's like futures. If you ever hear about options betting in like futures, well, the concept is it's almost like they're betting on the stock market or betting on the bond yield. So they actually went down and people were getting some crazy 1 minute deals. It's like one of those ads on Temu or something like that. Yeah,
Buy now.
9 minutes and the most convoluted app that I've ever come across. Yeah. So that's just to show you that, okay, we have reached that again now consistently.
Yeah.
And we're probably going to dip below. It just depends on, again, all this is predictions and speculation. The big S word, Jess.
Yes.
Everything's just speculation, isn't it?
And it always will be.
And it always will be. It's wild. We live in a made-up world, Jess. Mm-hmm. We're just living in it.
Yeah. But if you need to move and you can afford it right now, there are really good opportunities.
Yeah. Second message of the year. All this hubbub, this economy stuff, numbers, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, what do you want for your life? Okay? Where do you see yourself going? And how can we get you there? Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, are you a first-time home buyer? Are you upgrading from a condo to a house? Are you getting a bigger house? Maybe you're moving further out of the GTA. Maybe you want to move closer to the city.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to downsize. I'm sick of my 4,000 square foot home with 5 bedrooms and a double car garage.
Get the kids out.
And finished basement and the pool in the back. I just want a 1-bedroom. No.
Yeah.
But my point is, it depends on what you have and where you need to go. Everyone's answer is going to be a little bit different from us. Mm-hmm. And that's the point of us. We're here to help you plan the future. That's why I started calling us real estate planners.
Yeah.
Even though that's a bit of a crossover for developers.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like real estate family planners.
Planners.
Either way, we're not transactional agents.
No.
We don't sit in the moment and be like, oh, what can I do to just get rid of this thing? No, it's like, no. Where do you need to go? What's the best option for you?
Yeah. Personalized.
Maybe you need to rent your basement or something. Mm-hmm. Or even, by the way, here's the other message. It's not less of a concept, but a lot of people are renewing or breaking their mortgages to refinance, okay, on favorable terms.
Yeah.
Now, this is a question for your mortgage broker.
Yes.
A question for your actual mortgage expert.
Yeah.
But what we're hearing is some people, it makes sense for them to break the term. Okay. Some terms come with a penalty depending on your variable or a fixed.
Yeah. If you signed a mortgage like summer 2023 at really like the height.
Yeah.
We know because we did.
We know because we did. But I bet on a one. Yeah. I mean, I think we did pretty well in the end.
Yeah. But that was the top.
But at the time we had an option to do like 3-year fixed at like 6.24 or something. Like That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It was nuts.
Which we didn't take, by the way. That was silly. It would have been silly. But, I mean, for some people, they liked knowing exactly, like, yes, it could have gotten worse. But as we predicted it, it's all coming down. And so, yeah, if you're stuck with a high interest rate, there is a chance that it may work for you to refinance.
Yeah, there's lots of options. We can point you in the right direction to talk to the people that can figure that out for you.
Yeah, exactly. Just let us know if you're in that position or you're thinking about it. I can always refer you to our favorite mortgage people. And if you really needed to, you could always pull equity out. I don't recommend that. But it's always an option for you there if times are tough. So, pre-construction, Jess. They're still hurting pre-construction.
Yeah. And I don't think that's going to change in the next foreseeable future.
I mean, a couple of years back when we started to see like 1,400 a square foot, 1,500 a square foot, obviously it like radiates from the center of like Yorkville.
Yeah.
You know, like that's going to be the primest of real estates. And we were seeing those numbers. And I mean, how can that work? Well, the way that it has been working recently is unfortunately these units are now like 350 square feet, 400 square feet if you're lucky. So that's the way they keep costs down. But if you work it up per square foot, it's getting crazy. It's getting crazy.
Yeah.
It's very reminiscent when I talk about these like future markets like Tokyo, Hong Kong, these kind of areas where they have, even New York these days.
Yeah.
Where they have micro condos. We are heading that way, Jess.
Definitely.
But we'll see. Things could change. But point is, they either people have bought them and they can't close. We've talked about this before, but it's still continuing to happen. They might sell it as an assignment, which means you get it before the condo actually transfers ownership to become a condo core. Maybe it's ready and it's livable. Just the builder, you're paying rent to the builder for now. Other people can't close or they just want to get out. People were kind of like breaking even before, but the appraisals are coming back. Like if you got a 1,400 square foot, the mortgage people are telling us that they're appraising for like 1,100 square foot.
Yeah.
It's
they're out a lot of money.
It's dark. Yeah. So people walking away from their deposits, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate for them, but I guess, those crazy numbers weren't going to sustain forever.
No, they were too high to begin with.
Too high to begin with. To be honest with you, I've talked about this about a couple of years ago, when interest rates were low, post-pandemic 21, etc. When we had the 1%, it helped a lot of investors overinflate their assets because they were able to then leverage, investment properties against buying new properties. Yeah. And so now we're seeing the opposite effect where they have to shed them. And it's a little bit of an equalizer. Not that investors are the bad guys. They're just in business just like the rest of us. But I mean, it's a nice equalizer for first home buyers' perspective, for example.
Yeah, if it gives them an opportunity to get something a little bit more affordably.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what's happening. For those who are interested, please reach out. Assignments are extremely complicated, as we've always said. They're complicated to understand. And there's a few things to consider, but if you're okay with it, they are, an option for you, and and maybe it's right for you, Jess.
And maybe pre-construction is right for you if the incentives make sense. And
exactly.
You want
that's the main thing as well. The main thing is incentives. So they're getting rid of development charges, or they're capping development charges,
or they're giving you thousands of dollars in decor dollars.
Yes, decor dollars, free parking and lockers.
Yeah, and you have more choice because there's more opportunity. So it's not all bad. It's just whatever your end goal is.
Exactly. And so that's pretty much all pre-construction. But yeah, I guess the main message here is it's the year of the first-time home buyer, Jess. Do it.
Get in the market.
And you know what? If you know someone that was thinking about it, it's always a funny topic to breach, isn't it? With people, loved ones, friends, even like co-workers that don't own anything.
Or don't know where to begin.
It's very much, as I always talk about the media, social media, or the media, posting about different sides. And depending on the market, like, oh, first-time home buyers will never afford something in the city, or the sky is falling, the economy's, and, the latest ones I've been seeing, another home selling way under asking, whatever it is,
you can spin the story.
You can spin the story, but why don't they spin it in a way where, hey, fantastic opportunity for first-time home buyers this year.
Yeah.
Sure, it sucks for the people that, they couldn't downsize and make cash in as much money. Sure, that's not nice either. But what about the positives in it?
That's not going to sell newspapers and clicks.
No, it's not.
You know how it all works.
But why don't you, here's the task to the listeners, why don't you this week tap on someone's shoulder and say, hey, I heard this great real estate podcast and they said it was a really good year to buy a first home. I know you might have talked about it or thought about it. Maybe this is the year for you.
Call Hickson Real Estate.
That's right. That's okay.
This is just an ad for Hickson
Real Estate. Yeah, this is just one big, long, convoluted ad for it. But yeah, honestly, hey, listen. My process is this, and I love working with first-time home buyers because I love to see, the transformation that you and I went through, Jess, to where we are now. I want that for other people. We did it ourselves. It's possible. It wasn't easy, but we did it.
Yeah, and it's worth it.
And it's totally worth it. And these days when it's so hard to get into the market, it's nice that there are these doors that are opening.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a 1 month thing. Maybe it's going to happen in 6 months. Or even like in 3, 4, 5 years. You've got to set yourself up to, put yourself in that position that, okay, I didn't catch it in this market this time around, but I might be able to catch it in 3 years' time. Whatever it is, we can set you up, put you on the right path, because not a lot of people talk about it or educate you about it. This is kind of what our job is, and that's what I love to do. And you, maybe you're more capable than you think. What about that, Jess?
Beautiful. Well said.
Was it that beautiful?
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. The final message, I guess we're going to wrap it up because this is a quick one. Just 35 minutes casually. Our message is that we think, and I preface this with we think, asterisk, we think we got through the worst of this. Okay, the last year and a half, 2 years have been tough.
Yes.
With inflation, with cost of living. Now, unfortunately, cost of living things, and that's just corporate being cheeky. Things have remained at a certain new precedent level, but for the most part, things are coming down. And we are through that kind of interest rate storm that we were trying to weather.
Yeah, I think we're on our way to sunnier days.
We're on our way to sunnier days. And, pending what they do to the south. Yeah. But either way, there'll always be some positivity to find.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know, I think that's our final message. Yeah. Anything else to add to this podcast, Jess?
No, I think that's everything we wanted to say, Don't get so bogged down by all the negativity. You can always find the silver lining. Yeah.
You paint the reality you see around you. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Stay positive.
Stay warm.
Stay warm for the most part. And avoid the frostbite. Especially when I'm doing like the poop bags.
Yeah. This is the least
20,
enjoyable 25. Time to have a dog.
I actually almost got frostbite yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, here's the final message. If you have a dog and you have to walk the dog, prep the bag. Prep the bag. What I mean by prep the bag?
Be ready.
You use friction to open those bags up so that when you need to use it, it's quick. And you don't have to rub your fingers with gloves.
Yeah, it's awful.
And all that business.
It's warming up apparently in the next few days. We'll see.
We'll see. Okay, guys. Thanks for listening. And you'll see us again soon.
Bye.
Bye.